The ex-DA from Alpine, Texas, obviously didn't know how to use Zoom, and he had a filter on, and so he came on as a cat, and he kept telling the judge, "I'm not really a cat."
We actually have the audio from that. Can you imagine that, being in a courtroom, being a judge or just being somebody in the courtroom as that's happening, and somebody goes on there and they accidentally have the cat filter turned on Zoom? Now, I didn't even know that Zoom had filters.
I didn't either, and especially when you don't know how to turn it off, it's not really a good thing either.
Yeah, and, I mean, did they account for that? Did they think that could happen?
I have no idea. These Zoom hearings have kind of gotten out of control. I mean, in the beginning, lawyers were appearing on there and, T-shirts with their hats on backwards, and finally the judge kind of reeled all that stuff in.
And people don't realize this is an actual courtroom.
It's an actual courtroom, and what they also don't realize is to keep the open court system, they have to broadcast it via YouTube to the world.
Yeah, so everybody can see this.
So everybody can see it.
They don't really leave it up for more than 24 hours or something like that.
Something like that, but it has to be broadcast to have the open courts provision.
Because and people might not know this, but you can walk into pretty much any courtroom. Are there cases where courtrooms are closed?
In very limited circumstances, sometimes in juvenile cases or where there's a security concern or something like that. But
okay.
But the Constitution guarantees the court system should be open to the public.
It should be, yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, there are some court cases that I've gone to see what's happened here, and they were not on YouTube and they were not on Zoom. So, I mean, the silver lining to this is for somebody that has internet access is that you don't have to go show up in the courtroom yourself to see some of these court hearings. You can actually watch them on Zoom.
Exactly. You can usually get rid of your cable TV and just watch these because they're pretty entertaining.
They are. I haven't seen one yet that's failed me. I've watched 3 or 4 now, and I'm talking about local ones in Kerr County.
Just the last week or so, we had the one where the girl didn't realize her mic was hot, and she was talking about the judge and her lawyer, and her lawyer didn't realize that was even his client.
Uh-oh.
And then,
yeah.
And then later
That's
on,
not my client. Yeah.
And then later on in the week, the lady wanted to do her hair instead of go to court, so she was doing her hair on there, and the judge wasn't too happy about that either.
No, I mean, it shows some respect if you're in the court.
Exactly.
Even if you're in a Zoom courtroom, it's still like an actual courtroom. God forbid I'd have to appear in one. I'd be dressed nice and show respect to the judge because I want to show the best representation of myself in the courtroom. I wouldn't want to go in there and say, "Well, Your Honor, sorry, I got to do my hair real quick, or I haven't shaved yet this morning. Let me go ahead and shave real quick, and then we can get on with the hearing." Is that okay with you? I mean, you want to do that in a regular courtroom?
No, not at all. But to the benefit the Zoom has, it's kept the court systems going.
Yeah.
We've, and the thing I like about it is I don't have to drive to Brady. I don't have to drive to Mason. I don't have to drive to Robert Lee or somewhere like that. I can just drive to the office and take care of court.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's been pretty nice.
Do you think they'll keep it like this, or do you think
to some respects, I think they will keep the, non-essential hearings over Zoom. I think it's worked out well. In the beginning, some of the judges had no clue on how to operate Zoom, so it was a disaster. And some of them are like air traffic controllers. I mean, they've got it down to, boom, 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 boom. And then the next one you go to, he doesn't know how to turn the computer on or how to get it on YouTube. But they're learning.
Well, they don't have Zoom classes in law school.
I don't even think Zoom was around when I was in law school.
I'm having a look at the story right now. The hearing was at the 394th Judicial District.
Now, is that for the cat?
Yeah.
So this guy, he went onto this Zoom room courtroom.
And the lawyer's name is Rod Ponton.
Is that it? Is that right?
That's correct. And he used to be the district attorney in Alpine some years back.
So he was a former district attorney appearing in this courtroom, and then he accidentally, here's what it sounded like when he had the cat filter on. Just imagine a cat on video camera because it looked like an actual cat was sitting there talking. Here's the audio.
Ponton, I believe you have a filter turned on in the video settings. You might want to
Can you hear me, Judge?
I can hear you. I think it's a filter.
It is, and I don't know how to remove it. I've got my assistant here. She's trying to, but I'm prepared to go forward with it. I'm here live. I'm not a cat.
I can see that.
Yeah, and the judge presiding was Roy Ferguson.
And just imagine, I mean, how do you come back from that? I mean,
And Ferguson actually tweeted the clip.
yeah, you can find a clip everywhere. We'll put it on the Mike FM Facebook page too. But how do you come back? I mean, are people going to call him Catman from now on?
We had some other names for him I'd rather not mention. But
I mean, was that the perfect
that was
representation there, or what?
Kind of the unperfect.
So, I mean, is a judge going to say, "I can actually recognize you better this time"? You know, it's good. It's good to be able to recognize you in the courtroom. There is some, and I've noticed here, Mr. Danford, there is some humor.
Yeah, there's a lot of humor
in the courtroom.
I actually called Jerry Phillips. He's the other lawyer. He used to be a lawyer here in Kerrville, and I called him yesterday and said, "Hey, I saw you on YouTube." He goes, "Yeah, you wouldn't believe how many calls I've gotten."
I bet. I mean, that went viral. And then, so we had the girl here also in Kerr County, and this was, what, 2 weeks ago now?
It was a week ago Monday.
A week ago Monday. She thought her mic was off, I think.
She was. She thought her mic was off. She was in her car, and she kind of had some words for the judge, the words for her lawyer, and then how messed up she was.
Yeah, and that didn't play well.
No, and what was great was the lawyer from San Antonio chimed in and said, "Judge, if you need perfect proof that drugs make you do stupid things, you've now got."
I mean, in a Zoom call,
yeah,
in the court, and the thing that got me is she kept popping back on.
Yeah.
You would think she was gone, and then 30, 45 seconds later, she'd pop up on the screen again, and I didn't record it or anything, but she'd pop up on the screen again, and then say a couple more things, and then disappear, and then show back up.
And what's crazy, she was having these conversations with herself, I believe.
So, and then we had the one that was doing her hair.
The one doing her hair, yes. She wouldn't turn her video on, so the judge kept telling her, "You need to turn your video on so we can see you." She goes, "Well, I haven't done my hair yet." And so she turns it on, and she's doing her hair, and he's like, "You need to quit doing that."
I mean, show some respect when you're in court. Show some respect for the judge, you know? The other one that I heard about was a guy was in the barber shop. He was getting his hair cut while he was on the Zoom. Now, this wasn't local. This was in some other state. I don't know exactly where. But he was getting his hair cut while he was on the Zoom call.
Yeah, I've heard about that. And these people don't realize, I mean, just like you said earlier, it's a court of law.
Yeah.
And it's being broadcast to the world, and you're sitting there looking like an idiot. I mean, that's not really good for your defense or your side of the case or whatever kind of case it is.
Yeah. Show up and suit up and take it seriously because your life is on the line, right?
Exactly. And then I've seen the people who showed up and suited up, at least from the waist up, until they've had a problem and they had to get up to go to the bathroom or the phone rings, and then they got their pajama bottoms on or their shorts or whatever.
So they got the whole suit on and the tie and everything, and then they stand up and it's not the same.
Yeah, we've seen that a couple times too. So.
And back to the situation at hand here with Mr. Ponton. The Judge Ferguson actually did a follow-up tweet commending Ponton on handling the situation with professionalism. So he actually...
I believe you have a filter turned on in the video settings. You might want to take a look.
Can you hear me?
I mean, it kind of sounds like he could be like an older cat.
What the crazy thing is when you actually watch that is the eye movements of the cat are hilarious.
Judge,
I can hear you. I think it's a filter.
I mean, I don't know if is that fear in his voice or what, or is it what is going on here? Why am I a cat? Or what is this?
It is, and I don't know how to remove it. I've got my assistant here. She's trying to, but I'm prepared to go forward with it.
Prepared to go forward with what do you do at that point? He did handle it very professionally. I would.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Ferguson wrote, "These fun moments are a byproduct by the legal profession's dedication to ensuring that the justice system continues to function in these tough times. Everyone involved handled it with dignity, and the filtered lawyers showed incredible grace, true professionalism all around."
I would say so.
Yeah, and Jerry told me he was just biting his lip to keep from laughing. That's the other lawyer on there.
I'm here live. I'm not a cat.
I can see that. I believe you have.
I'm not a cat. So, did they reschedule it? Is that what happened, or?
I don't know what the outcome of that outcome was. I can find out if you want to know, but I don't know the outcome. And
Okay.
what's really crazy is I have it actually set for a in-person jury trial next week in Bernie.
So, are they bringing the jury trials back then, or are we still?
They're slowly phasing them back in. This will be my first one since COVID.
Since COVID?
Yeah.
So it's been about a year.
Since March, probably.
Yeah.
About March, yeah.
Wow,
So
that's
about a year.
That's wild. You also argued in the Texas Supreme Court just a couple weeks ago.
I did recently on a case from here on an expunction, and that was it was via Zoom, and it even had its Zoom moments because the Chief Justice announced the case, and he actually announced the wrong case.
Really?
Whoops.
And so I had to inform him, I'm sorry, Your Honor, but I'm not here on that case. And he goes, did I call the wrong case? And I'm just going, yeah, well, I've done that before. Here, let me start over.
That's so. So Texas Supreme Court is Zoom also.
Texas Supreme Court is Zoom right now, also correct. And they're the ones who actually regulate what we do here locally.
Okay.
They set out orders about every couple of months about when we can do what or how we do it and so forth.
So, well, I guess we'll find out, with more trials and that kind of thing coming up here.
I think right now we're tentatively on hold to around March the 1st.
Okay.
But some counties can get special permission depending on if, what's going on and if they have the facilities to separate and do that and so forth. Here locally, the health authorities haven't allowed us to have a jury trial.
Okay. So we're kind of waiting on the health authority here then.
Well, the Supreme Court says if you can get approval for your administrative judge of your region that says your procedures are safe,
Okay.
you can have a jury trial. But so far, that's kind of been hard to accomplish.
Okay. So, kind of waiting on that and then get back to the jury trials.
And to the judge's credit around here and across Texas, it's hard to have a jury trial when somebody's wearing a mask and you can't really see their facial expressions.
Right.
Or this or that. So when you're picking a jury, it'd be really tough to get a fair jury because you don't really know what's going on behind the mask.
True. Yeah, you don't. And also witnesses. I mean, witness testimony.
Exactly. I've had some contested hearings over Zoom where we've had to use witnesses and so forth. And that's been kind of complicated in times because sometimes the internet's not good and there's a delay and you don't know what the judge heard or he didn't heard or what the witness heard or they didn't heard. And so we've done it, but probably hadn't been the best scenario.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, in person, I think on as far as witnesses would go would be much better than Zoom, but just make sure you keep broadcasting it if it is in person so we can.
All right.
Anything else going on, Mr. Danford? Hey, you want to talk about this morning?
Well, there's crime has slowed down a whole lot since COVID. I mean, There's not as many. If you look at the jail records, I think the jail attendance is down. There's not as many people being arrested. It doesn't appear. I know when the bars were closed, it really, the crime took a dive. Now that they're kind of back semi-open, crime's coming back up. So that's maybe one good thing out of COVID is crime kind of went down. It's going to be interesting to see the numbers when we all get past this.
Yeah, it will be. You're known as the DWI guy. You have the DWIguy.com.
That's true.
What advice would you have for somebody that gets pulled over?
Don't drink and drive would be the best advice.
Yeah.
But if you get pulled over, remember, it's just like Zoom. You're being recorded. It's all going, it's all being recorded, and somebody's going to watch it later.
So do they have body cams on?
Once they get out of the car, the body cam comes on, and they have the camera from the car. So
okay.
So, be on your best behavior with the police. You don't have to agree with actually everything that they do, but just remember that, somebody's going to be watching that. Your demeanor on that video is going to mean a whole lot.
And try not to play lawyer.
Try not to
leave that to your actual defense lawyer.
Try not to play lawyer. There's just some things to keep in mind is you have the right to refuse to do field sobriety test. You have the right to refuse to give a breath test or a blood test. That usually means they're going to get a warrant to get your blood. But, you have constitutional rights. And just remember that, the best thing is, though, as I can say, is you're on video. So just be aware of what you're saying and what you're doing.
Yeah. And also, don't drink and drive ever.
Don't drink and drive would be the best advice.
Yeah, for sure. So, and but if something happens, they can give you a call, right?
They can give me a call. Yesterday I was just looking at cases that I have for court today, and don't drive 118 down I-10, be smoking a joint, and have an open beer in your car. That usually doesn't make for a good defense.
Right. Yeah. Don't make it challenging.
Yeah.
Speeding, smoking, and drinking.
Yeah.
Makes it a little difficult on your lawyers. Sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, some things are some things indefensible.
Some things are indefensible. I remember, the guy that was recently on January the 6th was in the Capitol, and he stole the lectern or whatever.
Yeah, that picture. Yeah.
And he's walking out, and his lawyers, his lawyer was on the Capitol steps or whatever. They were interviewing him after he walked out of federal court or whatever it was, and he goes, we don't make up the facts. Sometimes we just got to deal with them.
Yeah. I mean, when you're caught on camera like that with the Nancy Pelosi's lectern in your hand, it's not. I mean, how do you defend against that?
Yeah, it's pretty tough. We get creative though.
If anybody can do it, it's Harold Danford, the Danford Law Firm, PLLC. 830-257-4045 is the phone number.
DWIguy.com is the website.
That's right. Not D.
I said the.
All right, Mr. Danford, thanks for hanging out with us this morning. And we have the news and ain't nobody got time for coming up here in a little while as well.